Yeah, exactly.
Let me do this. This isn't gonna take that long. What time is it? Shit. God damn it. So, how was your day yesterday?
That was pretty good.
Started, man.
All right, this is Kanoshi Abominito here with the Project Console because we are simulcasting our podcast because neither of us were gonna make it yesterday. But yeah, Project Console episode 66. Open the gates. Glad to be here with Mr. Red Fox.
Glad to be here. This is Mr. Red Fox on Prayer to BS Buster. So this is a simulcast. So, but the thing is, a lot of the topics we would have been basically talking about the same shit. So it was just easier just for us to combine. Let our powers combine. Like Captain and create Captain Planet. So here we are.
Yeah. Yep. So let's head on our. We'll just head on to our first topic, and that is
Yeah.
last week. Last week, there's a big leak of the Tears of the Kingdom art book, and Nintendo got basically the leak consists of like various art pieces from giving hints of various different items and locations and stuff like that. And obviously, Nintendo wasn't particularly happy about that, and people started getting banned. They started anybody who posted it, you pretty much you're pretty much SOL. It was pretty much your channel or your profile, depending on where you posted it.
Um, I mean,
Though,
it's Nintendo. That's what they do.
yeah,
Uh, I like people are like, I can't believe it's like, come on, man.
I mean, it
This is
boggles
their
the
this is their biggest game of the year.
yeah,
I mean, what did these people expect?
it boggles the mind that people are surprised when not just Nintendo, but any company gets gets super crazy when it comes to leaks, and they start throwing down the ban hammer. It's like
I mean,
they want to control the message. They want to control, uh, when what what comes out, what doesn't come out. They want to they want to make sure people aren't spoiled. Uh,
this is their biggest game of the year. All right.
yeah,
Now, if this was for some Hal Box Boy shit, no one would care. It'd be like, oh well, it's just a nice little leak. This is their biggest game of the year. What did you expect?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um,
People are like, I can't believe that. I can.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Nothing
not
about this is surprising.
yeah, I'm not shocked by it either. Um, and while we're still on the topic of Nintendo, Tales of Symphonia is busted on the Switch. Um,
No.
and they say, Bandai Namco said, "Oh, we'll fix it. We'll fix it." And it's just par for the course. It seems like in this industry, it's just like something comes out broken. You just have to hope and pray and that the company will come out and fix it, rather than getting it right the first time.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, and I'm gonna say this, and people are gonna get mad when they hear this, but this could have been avoided if they just fucking used the GameCube version of the game the first time. Because everyone knows that the GameCube version of that game is the best version of that game. But we never got the GameCube version because Bandai Namco just refused to. Like, we keep on getting the PlayStation version of that game, which is shit.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, consistently, we get the PlayStation version of this game.
yeah. It's pretty. Yeah, it has half the frame rate of the GameCube
It's got
version.
some extra outfits, I think, and maybe like some really minor side quests that aren't in the other game. But I'm like, who cares? I mean, like, this is a game that where quick twitch reflexes, especially in some of the later fights, are really important. So why would I give a fuck about that other shit? Nah, don't say that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, they say, oh, we're aware of the issue and we're going to fix it. And it's just like,
Then
yeah,
why? I
whatever.
mean, if you were aware of it and you knew the game, like, okay, look, everyone knows that the Switch runs like ass. That a lot of games run like ass, but the Switch can't run Tales of Symphonia, and that's like like basically they ported a PS3 game, sorry, PS2 game, because it's based off of the PS3 version. So functionally speaking, the Switch can't run.
I mean, the Switch should be able to run this game, you know, no problem.
Should.
But this today just seems like companies just crap out at port. You know, like yeah, we'll just dump this out on the console. People, this is a beloved JRPG. People will pick it up regardless.
People love this game. It for a lot of people, this was because Symphonia is really easy to get into, and it's it's a really easy to get into game. It's one of the easier JRPGs to get into. But what do they care? Damn what you like,
Yeah, exactly.
bastards. You bastards.
And there are broken games, and then there's no games. PSVR 2. Um, some of the reviews I said, it says great technology, but there's no games to play.
Yeah.
$550, no games to play. Oh, wonderful.
Not surprising. I mean, look, man. Sony basically did what all these companies do. It's like what Google did with Stadia. Wow, this technology is amazing. We got to do something with it. But no one has any ideas. Fuck that. Just do something with it. It's like, but no one has any good ideas to do with this. I don't care. Do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've heard Gran Turismo 7 looks pretty immaculate on that on the system. Like they say, the technology is pretty good,
Yeah,
but
but
it doesn't
why
it
would you
doesn't
want
have
to
it.
play a racing game in VR? That sounds like that would be claustrophobic and confusing to play.
Yeah, I've never felt comfortable. Like like I said, I used the first VR headset. I was like, yeah, this is cool for about an hour, but I don't think I could just sit and wear this forever, or for a long periods of time. And then there's uh, this effect that's not backwards compatible with the older games. So you can't even bring your older games that you bought with the first PSVR
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
new
they
one.
couldn't be bothered to do that. I'm like, well, I mean, even the Oculus games are backwards compatible with the old Oculus shit.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's a Sony that's a top tier Sony move right there. Make you pay for shit that you already bought again. And these
yeah,
and Sony fanboys will do it. Well, yeah, Oculus, yeah. I mean, not Oculus, PSVR. It's amazing. I've only played one VR game where I'm like, okay, this is a reason to have VR, and that was Half-Life Alyx.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, um, it. I mean, how many let's look up how many PSVR headsets the first PSVR headset. How many PSVR sold 2022? The or how many PlayStation? Or for one place that I found, it said they sell over 5 million headsets.
That's not enough. That's not a high enough number for you to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like buying a second console for your con. It's like buying a 32X for your Sega Genesis back in the day. You know, this
Yeah,
expensive add-on to your console.
but I
And
think they already spent the R&D, and they're like, well, shit, we got to make some money off of this somehow.
yeah, there's obviously there's technology that was heavily invested in that they couldn't just sit on and just let it rot. So they were like, we have to make money on this somehow.
Yep.
So
Damn the consequences.
yeah. And speaking of PlayStation, so State of Play apparently was trash. That happened last week. Uh,
Yeah, I heard no one cared. They're like, it's okay.
yeah. Um, so State of Play basically consisted of VR games and creating this sort of delusion that third party games are exclusive to their console. And 15 minutes
Nintendo
of
did the same thing during their direct. Like a lot of those games, like Octopath Traveler. It's like, but it's coming to everything.
Nintendo does the same thing too.
You
And,
know, it's not. You know,
yeah, yeah. And 15 minutes on uh, the Kill the Justice League game. Um, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League,
yeah.
which is a free to play microtransaction gotcha game. I think, or it might be a $60 gotcha game. I'm not sure. But by all accounts, it sounds like it's a bit of a mess. Um, really, the only takeaway I got from it was Street Fighter Six still looks pretty decent. Um, I might actually check out Resident Evil 4 remake because that looks pretty good.
I mean, it's a
And
remake of one of the best REs ever made, so it would be really hard for Capcom to fuck that up. I'm not saying they wouldn't do it. I'm
yeah,
just saying it'd be a little hard.
yeah, and obviously their uh, VR2 headset just came out, and so they need to push that. So obviously they're gonna spend some time on that. So
Their shitty VR set that no one wants.
yeah, yeah. I don't
Be
know.
like George Carlin.
The thing is, right? I think you get people more attracted to VR. If the VR visuals could match up with the prescription of their glasses, so you don't have to wear your glasses with the VR headset.
Yeah, but no
Um,
one, no one's spending that type of money to do that.
yeah, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that wear glasses. It's not like
Well, I mean, I understand that sentiment, but the thing is like there are a lot of people who don't wear glasses, and also, I mean, like VR is expensive. They aren't going to spend money to get prescription things to fit virtual reality. It's just not going to be a thing. I totally get where you're coming from, and I agree with you. I myself wear glasses, but I just don't see that. I don't see that being a thing,
or
unfortunately.
some kind of like glasses like peripherals, so you're not wearing this big honking thing on your head, looking like a
Oh, I get
koopa.
it. I totally understand. It's just not going to be. You
It's
know,
gonna be a yeah, it's gonna be a while before these
you
headsets become the size of sunglasses.
you just made a very impractical um uh observation. Okay, for example, it would be amazing if you could get your car windshield to be essentially your prescription, but unfortunately your eyes change.
Yeah,
My prescription used to be really bad, and then I had to my eyes stabilize. So now my prescription has stayed the same. So functionally speaking, um, you know, like it's very impractical. It's a good idea. It's just very, 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 very impractical. Um, That being said, you know, anything's possible. You know, maybe there
Yeah.
could be some type of there could be something that functionally changes how all that shit goes down. But you know, I don't know, man. I just live here. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 Um, it's gonna be interesting to see those numbers, those when they come out.
Yeah.
See how many people who have the VR PS4 headset
Yeah.
who bought it. It's gonna go out by the next one because it just how many. Okay, so they sold, or maybe roughly around 5 million. Like how many of those VR headsets just ended up in a closet? It was a fun party trick for a while, but they're like, all right, I can't keep wearing this thing. Versus people who use it regularly,
Yeah.
because there hasn't the only game I've seen that's like that's like man, this looks interesting is the Half Life Alex game.
And that's not on console. You have to have a PC to play that.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's where I'm kind of like I don't get the point. Is I'm like, okay, like they're like we want VR to be a thing. Well, make games where VR would make sense.
yeah, yeah,
Don't just throw some shit together and be like VR. It's like, okay, but what's the point?
yeah. Exactly, exactly.
You know, but what do I know? I'm just some guy.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so apparently the creators of Final Fantasy 16 don't really want people to uh, see Final Fantasy as a JRPG.
Yeah, yeah, and
It
that's where I got to
says
be like, you
so.
broke my heart.
Yeah, so one of the one of the oh, one of the things that one of the sore spots that people have with with the new Final Fantasy is that it's not turn based. It's using the mainline Final Fantasy name, and it's not turn based.
It's not a JRPG. It's a
Yeah,
hack and slash.
yeah,
I mean, look, man, if they want to do that, cool, but don't make it part of the mainline series. Just like be like, this is its own thing.
yeah. I mean, it would have been better if it was called Final Fantasy, something something, and it wasn't called Final Fantasy 16.
Because
But
clearly, the fact that it's not a JRPG, you know. But Square
they
Enix has been doing this shit for years, though.
they put so much money into this game because this game obviously doesn't look cheap. Um, that they're like, well, we need this wide audience. We need this wide audience, and it's like, well, I mean, maybe not. Maybe don't put so much money into. Don't put so many eggs in the one basket. Well, maybe you could do that.
That makes sense. See, you're trying to make shit make sense, and we can't have shit making sense around here. What's wrong with you, man? But I agree with you. It's just a damn shame because Final Fantasy was one of my favorite franchises, but they're fucking it up yet again. Yet again. Square Enix can't help themselves. And the guy who's in charge of this is Yoshi P. He's the guy who turned around Final Fantasy Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
He's the guy who made the only arguably halfway decent Final Fantasy after Hironobu Sakaguchi and his team left, which was Final Fantasy 12. Um, but fuck, I mean, even he's fucking up now. I don't know. I really don't. I just at this point, I don't have hope for this franchise anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I should have given up when Hironobu Sakaguchi left, and I used to say that. Just Hironobu Sakaguchi was the heart and soul of Final Fantasy. No Hironobu Sakaguchi, Final Fantasy isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Yeah.
no, surely they wouldn't fuck up that badly. They did fuck up that badly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Square Enix,
Yeah. And I know they're trying to use, stuff like Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler to fill that turn-based void, but I don't think that's. I mean, those games are at least
They're good, but
Octopath.
people want the grand, huge, the journey. They want to travel around a huge open world and walk over here and discover this over here. That's what people want, and they just keep on fucking it up. I don't. I mean, what is so hard about making a traditional JRPG? No one does it anymore.
Well, that's because they're afraid that no, uh, these companies, especially a big, giant AAA, traditional JRPG, like they're scared. They're afraid to death that no, nobody's gonna buy it, and it's just kind of like, I mean, look at something like Fire Emblem, which is on the brink of just not existing anymore. Um, uh, what was the Fire Emblem game that came out for the first Fire Emblem game that
It
came?
was Awakening.
Yeah, Awakening. It was. I mean, that's possibly why it was called Awakening, because this was Fire Emblem's pretty much the last chance, and it sold pretty well. Uh,
Sold
it was
gangbusters.
sold
It sold
gangbusters.
so much that when they remade when they kept on with the series, they got egregious with their microtransactions, and they tanked the franchise again.
Yeah, they sold it sold so well to its benefit and to its detriment simultaneously. It's just like, I mean, that's just that's a turn-based strategy game. That's not, it's not a third-person action game or any. So if you're willing, if they're willing to market it properly, they can have a big AAA JRPG. You know, it's,
Here's the thing, man. That see, you're making sense, and we don't make sense around here. All right, what's wrong
yeah,
with you, man? We don't make sense around here. We're all about trying to essentially market to people who don't give a fuck about JRPGs in the first place.
yeah, yeah,
Because they're trying to go after a market who doesn't give a shit about their product,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
sad.
yeah, and it's just I don't know. I just
It's like how Star Wars tried to market itself to people who didn't give a shit about its product the entire time. It's like, why are you trying to market to people who aren't going to give a shit about your product in the first place? That is stupid. Like, you should market towards people who actually like your product. That makes sense.
yeah, but the thing, it just it looks cool and all, but I don't know.
You know,
Let's go ahead.
I mean, even I know this. Look, if you're going to market something, you market it to the people who first you go after your core market, and then from there you build out to other people. You don't say fuck my core market and just focus on the other people who will never buy your shit anyway.
Yeah,
Now I'm not a business major, but I have, done some business shit, and I've never seen that shit before.
yeah, yeah. Nothing wrong. It looks fun. I mean,
It
they
looks
got some.
great, and I might get it, but I'm not going to get it day one, and I'll probably get it on sale because I'm like, why would I spend a lot of money on something that they're actively telling me this is not a JRPG. It's a beat 'em up. It's a hack and slasher. It's Devil May Cry cross with. Even I think they got like the combat guy behind Devil May Cry to be. I'm like, well, shit, you're not making a JRPG.
Yeah. Yeah, Devil May Cry with this, God of War flavor to it. It's like, okay.
It's like
I don't know.
no one's learning their lesson.
No.
Everyone's like, no, no, no. It's like Elden Ring came out. Elden Ring is unapologetically what From Software wanted to make.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is the type of game they wanted to play, they wanted to make.
Yeah, they do not they do not yeah, they made no concessions. They made a game that they really wanted to make. They marketed it well. It sold very well. And and yeah, it's just I don't and you look at stuff like Elden Ring or stuff like that, and you wonder, oh, maybe the industry will finally learn its lesson. Or you look at
No,
something like I'm gonna say Hi-Fi Rush, and it's like, oh, maybe we'll finally learn our lesson. Nope, they're
no,
just gonna keep on doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for different results. We're not gonna learn the lessons from these other games
nope.
that
The lesson will not be learned.
nope.
The lesson will not be learned. And if you say something about it, they're going to get mad. Oh, how dare you say something? It's like, no, how dare you keep on. How dare you basically take what should be one of the best games ever made and turn it into trash? Like, it's like they learned nothing. They learned absolutely no lessons.
Yeah.
How is this company still in business?
I don't. Every once in a while, they'll come out with something and be like, "Oh wait, yeah, this is actually pretty good." But I feel like they miss more than they hit, especially when it comes to their, mainline games, mainline
Yeah, because
stuff.
they keep on chasing trends. There used to be a time where Square Enix created trends. Now all it does is follow them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, Square Enix never created trends. Squaresoft created trends. All they do now is follow other people's trends.
You know, one might hope that somebody. One might hope that somebody comes out with maybe a single A, double A JRPG inspired game, and then it sells gangbusters, and you know, and what the hope would be is that so they were able to successfully make a JRPG double A game that sold very well. Maybe maybe this is a sign. And then but in reality it won't be a sign. It just because they'll just go and do the same thing. The bigger companies like Square will just go and do the same thing that they've been doing for the past couple of decades. And
Yeah,
that'll be that.
because they don't understand how to budget. Everything has to be grandiose because they double down on graphics instead of good gameplay. Now, I mean, you look at something like Octopath Traveler. That game is gorgeous, but Octopath Traveler isn't gorgeous because it's um it's not a gorgeous game because of its inherent graphics. Although it does have good graphics, it's a gorgeous game because of the art style.
Yeah.
It's a game that's a throwback because of it gives you that sense of adventure and interesting storyline. Like I just started playing it earlier today, and I realized I'm playing as I'm doing Oswald v. Weinstein's thing. He's basically angry old man because he was a scholar and he was set up and they killed his wife and daughter and burnt down his house, and he's been in jail, like a horrific jail for like basically the game's version of Alcatraz for the last 5 years, getting tortured and beaten. I mean, this man is pissed, you know.
Yeah.
And and I'm playing it on PC, right? And I'm having the time of my life, beating the shit out of people who are fucking up, you know. And
Yeah.
this is what these are the types of games that Square Enix used to make on the regular, and now they can barely be they can barely fucking be bothered to make a good game these days.
Yeah.
You know, you have to beg Square Enix to do basic shit they used to just do, but of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Square Enix, just embarrassing. It's an embarrassing company.
While we're on the topic of Square Enix, that Luminous production studio that they had, well, apparently it's being folded into the company, meaning that essentially it's being dismantled, and they're probably going to take some of the employees from that company.
Yeah, because their games haven't done that well. Like they did Final Fantasy 15, which wasn't a Final Fantasy game. It's a game that they had that they slapped the Final Fantasy moniker on it, and then they were just like the development of that game was so bad. It was so goddamn bad that Square Enix just that the guy who was the director of that game left the industry entirely. That should tell you something.
Exactly. The uh yeah, that Luminous engine, they because a lot of there's this point in time. Uh, this has happened between the seventh and eighth gen of consoles, where all these companies wanted their own engine. They didn't want to. They didn't want to go for Unreal or Unity or what's the was there like a third engine or for
There's a lot of
no.
engines. There's Unreal. There's the id Tech engine. There's a lot of engines, and the thing is, the idea behind having your own engine is actually not a bad one. The problem is that um, like they don't want to put the effort into getting the engine properly, like to have their people trained to properly use the engine that they create.
Yeah, like the
They think we
Frostbite
created our engine and just use it.
Frostbite engine, for example, is primarily designed for first person shooters, like obviously like Battlefield, and then you know they try to shoehorn their engines into other games that weren't designed to run to run games like that's the big reason Anthem just couldn't make it
Well,
is because
mm, that's a part of it. Like, here's the thing. Typically speaking, in order to get good at using an engine, you need people who are experienced with that engine, who use it over and over and over again. But the industry has such a huge attrition rate where they're using contractors, and they have them for maybe 1, 2, 3 years, and then they get rid of them. How the fuck are you going to be good at using an engine at a place when you only have a job for 6 months to a year at that place?
yeah
You can't. You can't do it. And that's basically what's been going on at uh, all these companies. You know, they use contractors. They don't want to put money into actually getting people, you know, to keeping retaining people who can get good enough with the engines to where they know how to use it properly. Or in like Bethesda, they don't want to overhaul the engine that they've been using to make it more commensurate with modern engines. You know, I mean, because I mean, if you're in business, you don't want money going out of your business into other businesses. You know what I mean?
yeah
Because that's what, like, if you use Unreal or Unity or Lumberyard, if you use anyone else's engine, That's money going out of your pocket and into somebody else's pocket. And as a business, you don't want that happening, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to say, hey man, you made, X amount, uh like you made $15 million. Awesome. And and you have to give 20% of that to this company. No.
Yeah.
And that's why making your own engine is a good thing. Problem is, no one wanted to put the time and effort into doing it properly. They were just like, yeah, we're going to make our own engine. You do realize that you have to have people who are trained on that engine to use it, and you have to retain them so that they are good at using it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Anthem failing wasn't the engine wasn't the only reason. There's
No, there was
obviously
a, there was a lot of
there's a
reasons.
lot
The
of
reason
reasons,
that shit failed. Yeah.
but that was one of the things that came up in the article is that they didn't know how to use the engine. Like the engine wasn't necessarily designed for the kind of game that they were making, or they didn't know how to manipulate the engine to make the game function the way they wanted to function. The way they wanted it to function. So
That's fair.
yeah, yeah, and
But I
even
mean, I don't necessarily think having your own engine is a bad thing in gaming.
no, I don't think it is. I don't think it is either. But it's they spent they spent the engine's been around for about 15 years almost. It's Final Fantasy 13, right? That was the first game
Yeah,
that
but
used the
that means they were
Luminous
probably
engine.
working on it before then.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that was the that was the big that and they also had to make three Final Fantasy 13 games to pay for that engine because that game was in development for such a long time too. Like they announced it before the end of the sixth gen.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy 15 originally wasn't supposed to use that engine.
No, Final Fantasy 13.
That's what I'm saying. 13 wasn't originally supposed to use that engine. Final Fantasy 13 was something else, and then they were like, "We have to get something out. We need a Final Fantasy," and so they took that game and slapped Final Fantasy on it, and there you go. Because Square Enix just, I mean, that is not a well-run company.
Yeah, and then they had this because this is what happened. This was like E3 2004 2005 something like. So they announced all this Final Fantasy stuff. They announced Final Fantasy 12. They announced Final Fantasy 13. They announced Final Fantasy Versus 13, which later became 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then and then so 13 that took a while to come out. It was supposed to be a PS3 exclusive, but then they were like, PS3 is a hell of a time to develop for,
Plus,
and
we're losing money.
plus we're losing
We're
money,
losing money. Yeah.
so we're gonna have to move this game to the 360. So that happened. Plus it seemed like it was in development hell for a while, and then Versus 13 that was practically vaporware. That game that game at the time was practically vaporware until E3. I think it was 2014, 2015, where they said, "Well, Final Versus 13 has just become Final Fantasy 15 because
Yeah.
whatever storyline was supposed to be part of that game got completely scrapped and turned into something else." So
Yeah.
and yeah, this come what I don't know what the heck happened, who the heck is in charge of Square Enix, but like
They're
you just
fucking up.
said, it's not a very well run company.
It is not. It is not. Like, here's the thing: their niche games are actually doing pretty well. Like their double A, single A games that are made for a specific niche, pretty well. Their mass market shit. They keep on trying to reach a market that's never going to buy their games.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't understand. Why do you keep on? It's like trying to go with a girl who's not, because she's never going to give you any. It's not going to happen. Stop it. You're only embarrassing yourself.
yeah.
It's like, no, man, it's gonna happen. No, I don't think it is.
And then Final Fantasy 15, after that they were like, well, I guess we're just gonna move stuff to Unreal because that's cheaper, and this engine's just gonna lose us even more money. So
But 15 was made in Luminous Engine too,
no, yeah, I know it was the Luminous engine, and then
and so was
after
Forspoken.
yeah, Forspoken, and then
Yeah.
they they've moved on to Unreal with Final Fantasy 7 remake and 16.
Well, because most people who they get who are going to be coming back and buying shit are going to be using that engine. They know how to use that engine.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because that's what Unreal's kind of a. From what I heard, Unreal's kind of a bitch to use. But once you know how to use it, like if you know how to use Unreal Engine 3, you know how to use 4, 5. Because it's all built on the building blocks of the past shit.
yeah. I mean, in real, in all honest, um, in all honesty, I mean, you're probably more likely to find somebody that knows how to use these already established engines like Unreal or Unity or
That's true.
whatever, more so than spending time and money to teach people on an alien engine that they're, especially if they're contractors that they're probably never going to use
Yeah,
yet.
because like I said, no one wants to build their. Like most of these companies aren't like Nintendo, where you get someone and they're with the company for years and years and years. So if you have your own engine at Nintendo, yeah, the people are going to know how to use it because you've been using the same damn people for many many years now.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like that other companies.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
They're
exactly.
getting a whole bunch of contractors and like, well, hopefully we'll have something. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But for the final topic that I have here, Beyond Good and Evil 2, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is dead. It's dead. The director of the game left. Another director has left that game. They might as well pitch it and brush their hands off and call it a day. That franchise was announced over 10 years ago, or the sequel is slash. I guess it was supposed to be a prequel. Was announced a little over 10 years ago, and we've seen these weird, vertical slices of gameplay that have probably gotten scrapped, and yeah, the show's over. Like you've you've gone through they've gone through various directors like toilet paper, and it's over. I don't know. Maybe it's just simply because they spent too much money on the project, so they're kind of like we need to try to make money on this, or else we're just gonna yeah we don't want to lose money on this.
That could be the case. Um, way I feel about it is, and this is just my own personal opinion. Uh, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah,
You know. Jade's never getting off. They fucked up because they instead of making a game that's a continuation of the game that they were making, they fucking made some bullshit where they're like, "Well, this is a prequel." I'm like, no one gives a shit about a prequel about Good and Evil, Beyond Good and Evil. People want to know what's happening with that character who was just left in limbo.
exactly.
Like, how'd you fuck that up? But it's Ubisoft. It's the thing to say with Ubisoft is not how did they fuck it up. It's how did they not fuck it up yet.
Yeah, it's pretty it's pretty unfortunate. Yeah, I know it's one of those it's a niche, but at the same time, a lot of people are aware of aware of that game, and you really could have brought in a new generation of people. But
Man, see,
Ubisoft
that's
too
the
is a
thing.
poorly ran company.
You keep on making sense. You're like, oh, that makes sense. No, man, we don't make sense around here. What's wrong with you?
They could rectify it by remastering the game
The
and then
original
creating
game?
the original game and then creating a sequel. But again, a lot of these companies just like to leave money on the table. So
Look,
not doing
man,
my
that
thing.
makes sense. It's like Nintendo. We're just gonna re-release the original Metroid Prime. Well, what about the whole trilogy? Fuck you. Just the first game. It's like, but the first game is actually like the weakest one in the series. Shut up. It's like, okay. Shut
Yeah, yeah,
up. There's this movie by the Coen brothers called Hail Caesar, which is basically a love letter to old time Hollywood. And there's this scene where the Hollywood fixer, which back in the day, the Hollywood fixer would be the guy like, hey, your starlet is drunk, or she got married to a guy, and everyone thinks she's supposed to be this virginal, single person, right? The Hollywood fixer would go and fix it. Well, there's this scene where the Hollywood fixer is played by the guy who played Josh Brolin, the guy who played Thanos in Avengers. Like he's the body actor. And like George Clooney is this guy talking all this communist talk. He's like, yeah, well, you see, there needs to be a guild. It's about the man. And he's sitting here listening to this guy, and he finally can't take it anymore. He stands up and he walks up to George Clooney and he grabs him and he slaps the shit out of him. He says, "Shut up!" It's like he's like, "Sit down." He's like, "You're gonna play in this movie because the studio's been good to you. When you were nothing, they picked you up and they gave you classes. They took you to acting school. You're gonna do what you're told to do it." That's how I feel when these people are like, like, well, if this had happened, it's like they're not gonna do it. They're gonna bitch and complain about what they want and how it isn't what they wanted, and when it inevitably fails, because it always fails, they're gonna bitch and complain about that too, because you know people don't care anymore. You know, people are gonna leave money on the table because they're greedy, or they're gonna space it out. Well, we'll put it over here. It's like, no, do it now before it
exactly.
loses the juice. I like it, the juice. That's from what's it called? Saturday Night Live, the Juice Bar. I like it, the juice.
What see? You got any topics?
I
Anything?
mean, you pretty much got most of the ones I was gonna say, like how fucking shit these people are with stuff.
Yeah.
Um, you got the one that I was gonna talk about with fucking Tales of Symphonia. Well, I got something to say. This could have been avoided if they had just fucking paid for Tales of Symphonia if they just done the remaster of the GameCube version of the game.
Yeah.
Like, why would you remaster the worst version of this game? Like, and if it's an issue, we have to pay Nintendo to use their IP or put the game. Everyone who's a fan of Tales of Symphonia knows that the GameCube version is the best version of that game because it's 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
Like, why is this a difficult concept for you people to fucking understand? It's a fast response, quick twitch game, and no one like I've played the PS3 version of that game, which was a port of the PS2 version. It's slow as shit. Why do you keep on fucking up? Stop fucking up all the time, damn it.
Know why they can't just put the extra stuff like if they were to port the GameCube stuff, I don't know why they couldn't just put that extra stuff in that. in the GameCube port in
Uh,
an HD of the HD remake or something like that.
Personally, I think it's because there's maybe some type of there's probably some clause where if they do that, like they're gonna have to pay out extra money to Nintendo because the GameCube version was exclusive to the GameCube. It's some shit like that. I would wager. I am not, I wasn't in the boardroom when the deal was made, but I think it's some shit like that. Am I correct? Probably not. I might be wrong, but that's my opinion.
Yeah,
Could I be right? I'm probably not right, but it's speculation. But the thing that bothers me, though, the thing where I'm just like, fuck this, is that, like, Namco Bandai's done this a lot. Remember when they remade Soul Calibur 2? They, like, re-released it?
yeah,
So
yeah,
they did Soul Calibur 2, which Soul Calibur 2 is arguably one of my favorite Soul Caliburs. And I played that game on the GameCube. That's my favorite version of the game because it had Link, which Link makes sense to be there because he's a swordsman, and people use swords in Soul Calibur. That's the big hook of Soul Calibur is that people are fighting each other with swords and shit. So I'm playing. That game came to everything but a Nintendo console.
yeah,
And why? Because they didn't want either. Depending on who you ask, it's either Nintendo didn't want to pay for it or they didn't want to give Nintendo money for that port. Now, personally, I would have been okay with that port because, I mean, it's fucking Soul Calibur, man. Soul Calibur 2.
yeah,
One of the best games in the series, really, to be honest with you.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, people were asking for it, and they were just like, "Nah, we're not gonna do it."
But it's Namco Bandai, the same company that Nintendo trusted to make fucking to make a damn to start working on Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah,
That's some stupid shit right there. It's like,
no,
when has Namco Bandai ever made anything like Metroid Prime? Why would you trust them to make a Metroid Prime game? Don't get me started.
understand. I would like to see what that game actually looked like at this point.
I apparently it was terrible.
I
The
heard it was
build they showed
terrible.
Nintendo was like, this is some bullshit. We need to give this back to retro. What were we thinking?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious about. I just maybe in some weird fashion, 10, 20 years from down the line, it'll make its way out. How some of those concepts, footages that we several years after the fact, they find their way to the light.
Those early
Maybe,
builds where we're just like, oh, so that's why they just were like, fuck this shit. But
yeah.
I'm just like, why would you give it to Square Enix in the first place?
Bandai, yeah, yeah, they don't make
Sorry,
games like that.
Namco Bandai. They have never made a game like Metroid Prime ever. A fighting game, yes. Having them help out making Smash Brothers makes sense. They make fighting games. Like that's right up their alley. But like them making like other shit, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Why? And they knew the shit. They knew the shit was trash. They knew the shit was trash. They because like there's some shit that you would never give to certain companies. I wouldn't trust Microsoft. I wouldn't trust Halo to make an RPG. The Bungie to make an RPG because that's just not their wheelhouse. First person shooter, yeah. JRPG, no. Um, got something talking about people making shitty ports. Well, PlayStation decided to. Sony decided to port over Legacy Legend of Dragoon over to PS Plus to their new PlayStation Plus store. It is a broken piece of shit.
Fortunate.
I mean, but that's widely Legend of Dragoon is widely considered to be one of the how can I put this nicely? It's widely considered to be one of the best underrated JRPGs
PlayStation.
for the PlayStation, yeah. Now I played it and it didn't really do much for me, but you know, I'm a JRPG connoisseur.
Sorry, man.
So I was like, it's okay. Like the big thing about Legend of Dragoon is that it basically, for your special attacks, it uses basically time to attack, kind of like Paper Mario or Super Mario RPG. That's it. That's its big hook. And your characters are dragoons who essentially fuse with dragons that can use really powerful special attacks and shit. Really cool concept. Not gonna lie, the concept is cool. The problem is that it was on. They released their own JRPG on a system that was swamped with some of the best JRPGs of all time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Legend of Dragoon had to compete with Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, um, shit, Suikoden, Sony's other JRPGs, Art the Lad, Wild Arms. It's like, well, shit. How you gonna compete against this shit? You can't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
all I'm saying. And so it got lost in the shuffle. But for the people who played it, they were like, "Oh, this is actually really good." So you know, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. Square Enix been fucking up. Sony been fucking up. Everyone keeps on fucking up. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just sign of the times, I guess.
Sign of the times. You know, like the thing is that we're continuously seeing older games that are being shoddily ported. You know,
Yeah, it seems to be a common trend these days.
I mean, you look at Square. I mean, you look at like the GTA trilogy, definitive edition trilogy, which was shit. I mean, let's not get it twisted. The GTA trilogy was dog shit. You look at the port of like these companies don't give a fuck about their old games. Like not as zero shits.
Yeah.
And yet they want to charge people an arm and a leg to play them, or put them on online services where they run like ass. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I'm done. That's it. I got nothing else to talk about. Do you have any hot takes, unpopular opinions you may have?
Thanks. Popular opinions. None that I can think of. What about you?
Okay. This is about Cocaine Bear. I saw that movie. I enjoyed it. It may be my movie. It may be in one of my movies of the year. You're thinking that the movie's just going to be about a bear. But I will say this much about the Cocaine Bear. Even though the premise is really simple, the movie is basically a throwback to those '70s animal disaster movies from back in the day.
Yeah.
Like The Prophecy or Jaws or Alligator 2, The Next Mutation, shit like that, where a killer animal goes on a rampage. So it's like the movie's like it's a comedy, it's a stoner comedy, it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Some people die horrifically in this fucking movie. It is fucking insane. It's like, God damn.
So is the bear on cocaine? Is that what happened?
Yes. The bear's on cocaine and goes insane. If you get a chance to go watch it, I highly recommend it. It is fucking insane.
Oh, sounds amusing and horrifying
But
at the same time.
yeah, that's my opinion. That's the end of my thing. That's I don't have any other unpopular opinions. Oh, I do have another unpopular opinion. There's a rumor that Nintendo's going to launch a Switch 2 in 2024. I hope they don't.
Yeah.
I would rather them just launch a new console than continue with the Switch.
I mean, concept of the Switch has worked out well for them.
Yeah, but I'm tired of the Switch.
Yeah,
Just on a personal level, I'm tired of the Switch. I'm tired of playing games on the Switch that run like ass. And Switch fans are like, "Oh, this is acceptable." I'm like, "Yeah, but it runs like shit though."
Yeah.
And not third-party games, first-party games running badly.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a third-party game on a Nintendo console running badly, it's like, well, I wasn't going to get the shit on Nintendo console anyway.
Yeah.
But third parties are like first-party games. The second-party exclusives are running poorly on the Switch. So I'm sorry, but you know, I'd rather them just move on and do better. For perform, because here's the thing, I don't like everyone's like, oh, you want 2K4. No, I just want 60 frames per second. 720p, 60 frames per second solid. I don't think that's too much to ask. Because my Steam Deck can do that.
Yeah.
For $399, my Steam Deck can do that. So there's no goddamn excuse for you not having that on a Switch.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So if they can't do that, just raise the price on their next console hybrid and get some better fucking hardware.
Yeah.
That's all of that. Just get some better fucking hardware. But that's my opinion. That's my hot take. Some people are gonna get mad at me about that. So, but the Switch is amazing. I know the Switch made a lot of money for Nintendo. It's like their highest. I think it's the only gaming device they have that sold more than the Switch is the DS. So commercially, it's very successful for them. But as a Nintendo gamer, I'm just unimpressed with the shitty performance of a lot of games on the Switch.
Yeah.
Sorry, here's the thing. Like I said, I just want 60 frames, 720p. I'm not even asking for 1080. I don't think that's too much to ask for, you know? Yeah. You know, it's not like I'm going into a diner saying, hey, I want foie gras on this burger and microgreens that have been grown specifically in a certain climate and lovingly taken off with food tweezers and lovingly placed on the bun, and an heirloom tomato that's perfectly ripened with molten salt put on it. I'm not asking for that. I just want some extra ketchup for my fries.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too much to ask for. 720p, 60 frames per second. Anyway, that's my hot take. I got nothing else left. I know some people are gonna get mad. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of people. Oh, the defend a multi-billion-dollar company club that some people like to join. It's like, yeah, this company has more money than I will ever see in my lifetime, but I need to defend them. Okay.
Like if they're not paying for my bills or feed me, I could, I ain't defending shit.
And I say this as someone who has some Nintendo stock, and I'm not defending them. They fuck up, they fuck up. They do good, they do good. But I'm not going to be like, oh my god, this company, everything they do is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, Elden Ring is getting an expansion.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. This is Kanoshi Abominito here at Project Console. Uh, glad to do the simulcast with Mr. Red Fox, BS Busters, and we'll see you in the next one.
This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. I'm glad to have done the simulcast with Kanoshi. That's the end of the podcast. Thank you for joining. Peace. Good night. Play your games and live your life.
Later.